Saw, dude.
Rip it, Dad.
Why did you look like you were just about to lose your mind, leaning back in your chair like that?
Oh, I don't know. Just trying to stretch the back. I feel like, I love the battle station, but I'm in it so many hours a day now that I might invest in a new chair, maybe.
Yeah, I feel that. I really, really, at some point, want to get a Herman Miller chair. They're just so expensive.
As do I.
So we'll see how that.
You know what?
We'll see how that pans out.
While we're on the topic, and not to get immediately off topic, I'm just curious how much. Oh my gosh, they're so expensive.
Yeah,
Honestly, this chair looks very similar to what chair I have right now.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, although it may look similar, it is not similar.
The chair that I have was shout out to Hershey. It was one of our office chairs. I was told that they were when they bought them, they were $500 a piece. So
Oh, if it was like an actual like corporate office chair, then I'm sure it's a pretty nice one.
pretty good. Except a few years old, and a lot of people sat in it. So
Yeah, mine is a nice little Staples like $150 chair. It's comfortable for now, but like after I've sat in it for like 10 to 12 hours of after a full day of work and then gaming for a while, it's like, ooh, I feel that. I
that's
definitely feel that.
that's the difference now. It's like, yeah, 10 to 12 hours for work, and then if we play, which is not a whole lot, like it's not extremely often, but like tonight we're doing the podcast and then playing after probably. So at least I am. That's another few hours. 16-hour day in the chair.
Yeah, it'll get you. So it's definitely worth, at least in my opinion, to invest in a good chair because ultimately you're investing in your body at that point.
You know what? This is a good opportunity for anybody listening. If you got any chair suggestions or anybody that like is currently experiencing a good chair and can give a recommendation, please give it to us. That'd be great. I
Hit
like
us,
firsthand experience.
hit us with it. I've got a coworker who has the Herman Miller Logitech Embody chair. I'm like, you are just goals right now. That's what I
Is it
want.
like $1,700?
Yeah. It's like
Yikes.
I would love that.
Maybe we could find it on like Facebook Marketplace.
I've looked. You can't. We'll see though. Maybe you get lucky one of these days. But
You said
okay,
some
well, not to start, terribly off topic because that's just what you do is just absolutely derail us, but that's fine. Welcome
Well,
back.
we didn't have an intro today,
We didn't.
so we didn't have that slotted. So we'll just slide that into the intro.
We're just riffing off the top.
Talk about
And
talk
that's
about
how
gaming chairs.
we're riffing off the top, and that's what we do best here. So I'm fine with it.
Okay, so do you want to go into our first topic of the day in our gaming headlines?
Oh, we're just gonna roll right in this, and
Just go into it.
this is one that has been developing really since just like this morning, and it's not really gaming; it's more entertainment,
And you
I
love him.
I just get a big kick out of it. So T-Pain, as I'm sure a lot of people have seen today, has blown up on TikTok because he's scheduling a tour. Well, he has a tour scheduled, and he was put out a TikTok today and just said like, here's like each week the tour team meets and we send out the spreadsheet on all that. And he calls out Dallas, Texas, because I can even pull this up in the graphic on the spreadsheet that they have. Dallas is like 26% tickets sold, whereas there's some like LA, Chicago, Richmond, Virginia are all at 100%. And it's like
Oh.
Boston's 88%. Like Atlanta's pretty low at 45, but Dallas is the lowest at 26. And he goes, "What the fuck, Dallas?" And so he calls out Dallas, Texas hard. And apparently a lot of people have responded to his TikTok and just to him in general for this, like from Dallas, and they've given him the feedback of the concert is not necessarily in the greatest area, so I think that's the main reason why ticket sales are pretty low. But he's just like, I've developed this great relationship with Dallas and the city and the people, and what the fuck, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he put out a tweet just at what was this, like 5:30, so 2 hours ago, not even
Mhm.
2 hours. And he says, all right, so I'm gathering from all the responses that the spot they put me in for the tour date in Dallas doesn't have a super dope reputation. Do I need
Yeah.
to make them move to the show to a new I can't speak today. Do I need to make them move the show to a different spot or city?
Yeah.
So I think it's just cool that he's actually taking the feedback to heart and is like possibly making a change just based
That's
off of
actually
all the
crazy because
feedback.
you would know this too. Like, don't they would have contracts for that
Oh yeah.
specific venue, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah. This if he pulls something like this, he's definitely gonna have to pay a premium to get out of that contract. And
But
I
I
mean,
mean,
that venue's gonna absolutely hate him.
if it's at like 30% though, and like if they're at 30% ticket sales, say they sell another 70% of that, he'd probably make that back and more playing at another venue. People actually want to go there.
Yeah, you just also have to keep in mind of like all the different forecasting that they do just from a revenue perspective for all these shows that like they're also already taking in a high ticket sale percentage into account for
Mm,
their projections. So I would imagine if he switches, he'll have to pay a some sort of termination fee
mm.
and then sign on with a new venue. So I mean, like it's possible that he loses money on Dallas because of that, but also like T
He's fine.
Pain, he has all of these other cities that he's going to be doing his tour in. It's like he'll
Oh
still be
yeah,
making money off of the tour.
and he'll probably just be streaming in between too.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have a mobile streaming setup. Um, but I thought this was really cool. This is a great example of a very, very large personality and celebrity who is actually like taking feedback from social media and possibly acting on it. I guess we'll see how this plays out, but I thought it was really interesting.
Pretty cool. You know, I like T Pain. I feel like T Pain as a personality has really branded himself well.
I've always been a big fan of his. I mean, for the music standpoint, it's like I like his music, but just
Yeah,
him as a person and his personality, I think he is like just very entertaining in
yeah.
everything that he does. Like there will be nights where if I'm just like bored at home alone and Christy's not home, like I'll throw up Twitch and just like throw his stream on and just like sit there and watching whatever he's doing. Like he's like such a
What are he's
variety
hanging out?
streamer. Like he'll
Yeah,
be reviewing people's art or just like making music on stream. It's like that is what I like, just pure entertainment.
yeah. Just you like watching his just like normal life.
Yeah. Like he could just throw up a just chatting stream and I would be fine watching it. It's like
hmm
cool. I think he's a
hmm
great personality. So yeah,
Um,
I thought that was cool. So I wanted to talk about it.
yeah, it was neat. Well, in other actual gaming news, I want to refer to a tweet that you sent me, and I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but I will say the initial picks made me excited with Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars is making, well, not Star Wars, but there is a Star Wars video game being created.
I don't know who it's. Do you know who's making it?
Um, Skydance, I believe, is
Look it up.
the developer. It's Skydance New Media. Um, it's very initial phases right now. I think it was literally just announced today. Um, but it's in partnership with Lucasfilm Games, um, which I think is a huge W because it's coming
Oh yeah,
straight from the IP owner. So you know that Star Wars is just going to be represented well in general. So I think this has a lot of potential to be really cool, similar to like a Hogwarts Legacy, where they're working directly with the company. What's Warner Bros. I think is Harry Potter. Um, so I think this could be a really cool one.
so and Amy Hennig, who's the creator of the Uncharted series, her studio is Skydance, so she's the one that's in charge of that.
Which Uncharted games are very successful and popular. So if they have the backing of a reputable studio, I think this is a very high potential game. Especially just with Star Wars in general. Anything Star Wars related, pretty much 9 times out of 10 is going to perform well.
The only Star Wars game that I played, and I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember Jay Kuntia?
I do.
Jay Jay was obsessed with Star Wars. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Like obsessed. And we used to I went over to his house and we used to play God, I can't remember which one it was.
Was it
I played
Battlefront?
one N64 game. It might have been Battlefront. But that game was nuts. I will say like these games that are like games based on movies have been like the ones coming out now are really really cool, especially with Star Wars being like so Star Wars is like a fixture in our lives growing up
Oh
as
yeah.
like it
Yeah.
with like talking about movies like everyone our age like I don't know what like age range but obviously like there's the whole Star Wars world and like it's a craze almost or was a craze in a lot of ways. I mean they're still making movies. But that like Harry Potter and like I think I think these developers making games based on movies is pretty freaking cool, especially with the ability of like the next gen graphics and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Uh,
And Matt just mentioned that Respawn, um, who is the creator of Apex, is doing Fallen Order 2, which I think will also be a very good game.
ooh,
Star Wars just in general, I think has a lot of potential because they could take it so many different directions where it's like you have like that sword aspect of it with the lightsabers and you could strictly go that direction, or you could have the first person shooter and go the gunplay.
hmm
All of that I think is just so many different dynamics in one game that you really don't find in a lot of or really any other games because
yeah,
it's like you have to pick one era essentially where it's like you think of like an Assassin's Creed and that is like all hand to hand combat. Like there's no guns or anything really in Assassin's Creed with the exception of like one or two specialty items. Um, so it has an opportunity to mend all of that together, and I think if done well, it could be extremely successful. So I'm excited to see how this one comes to life, because Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2 were one of my, or I guess technically two of my favorite games, but like the two of those games, counting those as one for PlayStation, growing up on the PS2, like those were huge. I played those
oh yeah,
all the time.
yeah. Um, well, we'll have to keep an eye on it because now I'm curious. It's like Harry Potter got delayed. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what the timeline is on the Star Wars one, but uh, we'll be following it. We'll keep an eye on it. They just released like a couple pictures, really. So don't know a whole lot yet, but I'm sure keep an eye on it.
Yeah, this will be a fun one. And I think very similar, at least in my mind, I will just naturally almost compare this to Hogwarts Legacy because I see like both of the franchises growing up. Like these were my childhood, Star Wars and Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
yeah.
So it's like from a nostalgia standpoint, like these will be compared in my mind. So
Okay,
we for sure will be talking about
I
these.
need I need to ask you this now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, is Christy a big Star Wars or Harry Potter fan?
More Harry Potter, but I got her into Star Wars. So she is now a fan of Star Wars.
You've
So
done a lot of good work there.
I've done a lot of really good work. I not to pat myself on the back too much, but I sat her down one day, and actually think this was during the pandemic, and I said, "Okay, we're watching Star Wars. I like you're doing this,"
Yeah.
and she was like, "Okay." So we watched all of them in. We did it in like timeline order, not like
I
production
want
order.
I started to do that and I couldn't keep my own attention span. I've seen most of them just not like in chronological
Yeah.
or
Well, and
timeline order.
they weren't made in that order, so
Right.
I told her from the start, I was like, the first three are gonna be like new movies, and then we're gonna go back in time, and production level is gonna be totally different. But you just have to
Oh
think of
yeah.
it as from a storyline perspective. And I'm really glad that we did it that way because then she just naturally
You can
like
pick up on what was happening.
yes, and like naturally when we're watching movies, the girl asks a lot of questions. Like, even if it's a movie neither of us have ever seen, she's asking me questions, and I
Yeah.
sometimes have to pause the movie and be like, I'm experiencing this the same as you. Please just shut up and watch.
Yeah.
um,
Um,
so it was actually really good from a timeline perspective for her to just kind of experience it that way. Um, we actually did the exact same thing with Marvel, and we watched all of the
oh yeah.
Marvel movies in chronological order
I'm
from
waiting
the
for
Marvel timeline, and I also really enjoyed that.
I'm waiting for Matt to pipe in here and just poke at me because he gets really mad that I haven't watched all of the Marvel movies.
You should honestly
I've
with
seen a lot of them.
yeah.
I couldn't. Here's the thing. I don't know what it is about me with movies. I don't know if I just like it's more of a passive thing for me. So I don't actively follow like the storylines and really connect between movies and
Mhm.
like Matt is a movie buff and history buff, so he like pays attention to the storylines and the characters and the like between every single movie and like the actors that are in there. I'm like, I don't follow that closely. I just like to watch the movie and it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say I'm like the happy medium between that. Um,
yeah,
whereas like I don't necessarily get super deep into like the actual lore and the backstory and
yeah,
everything with some of these movies, but like from the storyline perspective, that's where I do pay attention and I do like want it to make sense in my mind. And it's like when you're watching Marvel movies, like I just remember like watching them all growing up, and I never thought anything of it because I was never huge into the comics. Where it's like you're watching Iron Man, and you don't necessarily think about how Iron Man relates to Thor or any of that
yeah.
until you watch the Avengers. Versus when you are watching it knowing that they're in chronological order, everything makes sense from each
Hmm.
one. And you pick up on the things that you didn't necessarily pick up on previously for like how all the different storylines actually do relate. And it's a lot of fun to go back and experience that.
Yeah, like I bet that's fun. I have not gotten myself to do that. Um, but the reason I ask you is because about Christie is because uh, you may know this, but other people listening might not know. Kelsey did Irish dance growing up, and Irish danced 40 hours a week. So like
Yes.
when she wasn't dancing, she was either in school or doing her homework. So she like missed out on so many movies. Like doesn't really care about Harry Potter. Like has not seen all of them. I got her through like the first two to three, and then I see Matt typing. Um, but she I don't know. She's like a scaredy cat too. So like she got to Prisoner of Azkaban and like was too afraid because that's a dark movie
Yeah,
with
that's like
Sirius Black and like
that's exactly where the series starts to get darker.
oh yeah. And then so anyway, I couldn't get her all into that. I'm sure she hasn't watched Star Wars. So that's
I
why I was asking you. I was just curious.
I would be pretty shocked. And Matt, I do agree with you on the Marvel games, or the Avenger games that none of them are
Oh,
really all that great.
yeah.
Spider Man is cool. I haven't played the new Spider Man.
Spider-Man was great. I
I
played Spider-Man
I played it on
GameCube.
PS. I played it on PS2, which would have been the same one. I think it's the Amazing Spider Man
I
video
don't
game.
know. It's awesome.
That's the one that I played on PS2, and I did like that one a lot. But there was one actually. I think it was an X-Men game that
Mm,
I used to love playing. It was
we probably played it together. I mean,
probably at some point. I actually used to play it at my dad's all the time, and my stepmom was actually also like she's a big superhero fan and like Harry
mhm.
Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean, Star Wars, all of that. Like her and I just kind of like bonded on that when I was growing up. So she would actually play the X-Men game with me sometimes. Um and so that was also a lot of fun. Um so that one, yeah, from a video game standpoint, I don't think the Avengers have ever really done a great job. I know there's one current Avengers game that's out right now that I don't think is great. I haven't
Yeah.
seen like awesome reviews of it. I know there is a following for it. I just personally don't know a ton about it. Um, and then there were two other Marvel things that I wanted to touch on. Ironically enough, actually, I'm very excited for the newest Marvel movie that's coming out, Doctor Strange, the
Mm.
Multiverse of Madness, and I actually won 2 tickets to go see it on Twitter.
Oh,
From have you ever heard of the Twitter account Culture Crave?
I think you sent me this.
Yeah, it's a podcast. That's how it started, and it's actually Deserto who owns them.
Oh,
And but yeah, it was like one of the retweet to enter, and I ended up winning tickets to that, so that's cool. So
that's pretty sweet.
Christy and I get to go see the new Doctor Strange, which I'm excited about because
Oh, that'd be cool.
this is the movie that essentially like fully sets up Phase 4 of Marvel. Um,
Oh,
so it like brings the new like all of the new phase, kind of sets everything up, opens it up into that. So and I just like Doctor Strange in general. I feel like Doctor Strange
yeah.
is one of like those sleeper characters that
Hmm.
doesn't get enough credit. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Well, we're gonna have to see. You're gonna have to let me know how the movie is because inevitably it'll drop, and then you guys will watch it and talk about it, and then it'll be like 6 months later, and then I'll be like,
And then you'll finally see it.
yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Matt and I are both watching Moon Knight right now too. And you're like super lost on any of those discussions that we have.
Nope,
So
nope. Can we get to my favorite and probably maybe one of the most? It's not funny, I guess. I guess I haven't really. I haven't looked at it too much, but can we talk about Ninja's rebrand?
yeah. Ninja or NINJOI? You gotta clarify nowadays.
Okay, for those that haven't seen it, please, are you
So
gonna pull it up?
yeah, it's up on screen. I have
Okay.
his, I guess technically now old branding up. Um so I'm gonna let you just take this over.
Hold on, I can send you the new
No, I've
one.
I've got it. I've got that side by side. I'm not showing the new one yet. I just I
Oh,
just need you to talk about this, and then I'll give you
okay,
the
okay.
rundown.
I can mine. I'm delayed on the stream, so I can't see it. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, and I'm curious. So I'm curious where he's going with this. Ninja has officially rebranded. For a lot of you, I think in general, like Ninja's brand has been like obviously in some ways geared toward kids, and like in a lot of ways. So I'm very curious if like he is going towards something different. Why?
Because it looks like shit.
Okay, see, you're like a lot closer to this because you're like, did you major in marketing? Well, you're in sports marketing, but uh, you're a lot closer to this than I would be. Uh, it it it's different, but it looks like NINJOI.
So, in my personal opinion, Ninja had some of the greatest branding for a creator, just like in general. I think that
Well,
his
there's something that made him stick out, man. Like,
well, and this was even after he really blew up. Um, I wanted to pull up his actual branding. And well, I guess it's going to be tough for me to find right now. So I'll just keep this up. But I think from just a marketing perspective of himself, I feel like his logo was perfect for his brand. The text that he has, for me, I feel like it just like screams ninja of like
mhm,
gets the point across of like
who he
trying to
is.
be like a ninja, but also like is distinctive enough to just like match his own brand.
Hmm.
Um, and like he's always had that blue and yellow, and so it sticks with that theme. And like his stream graphics were great, and I don't know. I just think
He didn't
Jake,
need this.
yeah, he didn't need it. And Jake Lucky, whose tweet I've got up right now, he even says this right now, or right in his own responses. And he says, personally, think Ninja was a victim of an already good looking brand and logo, and rebrand was likely to fall short of expectations. And I completely agree with him because I think his branding was awesome. Um, and the way that they went, I get the logo because it's like his head and his blue hair that's spiky.
The
His other
the old
logo,
or the new?
the new one, it
Yeah.
looks kind of like the Adidas logo a little bit.
Can you pull that one up?
Yeah, I've got it up right now.
Okay, now I can
It's a
see it.
little weird.
I get.
It's
Yeah.
very it's very minimal. And they're going for like the minimal aesthetic here, but also like what are you doing? Um
With the way that font looks, because they go from like within the word ninja, they go from like kind of a thinner line to a thick to thin to thick, and then the A, I think that's what's messing up the. It's creating this aesthetic that looks like an O and an I separately.
yeah, the text in and of itself, it's weird that you've got four letters that are all capitalized and then you only have the A that is lowercase.
Yeah, yeah.
The font is just awful. And it's like why are you bolding the I and the J? Like what's the there has to be a story behind the decision that was made in that, and like that's where the story does not come across.
Yeah.
Like you're thinking about it too much almost. Whereas the old branding I think is just
Straightforward.
far and away better. At
Yeah.
least in my mind. So trending on Twitter, of course, is NINJOI because that lowercase a looks like an OI. So yeah, that's interesting. I looked at the trending page today and it's NINJOI. I was like, oh, this should be good.
Oh, Matt said the logo isn't bad. Should have kept the previous textile.
Yeah, I mean the logo's not bad, but his previous logo was a lot better than the new one anyway. So if you're keeping the previous text, you might as well keep the previous logo as well. I don't think this was necessary, and
Just
it's
an overall yikes from me, dog.
yeah, like I think this new logo could be great on a shirt, and that might be what they're trying to push, like just merch sales in general. It's a good little logo to put right up on the breast, or like on a hat or something. But I don't know. I think this is a significant downgrade in my personal opinion.
Like I said, it's a yikes.
It's
We're gonna see what
yikes.
they do with it. I mean, I'd like to see what his entire like his clothing, like all of his merch is streamed. Does he have this up on stream yet? Do we know? Like
I haven't seen his stream. I don't even know if he's been live today. I saw on Twitter though that he put out a link to his merch store, and like I did see a t-shirt with just the minimal logo on it. I think he had like a hat or something, whereas like that I feel like could do well, but also yikes, or should I say yoikes.
No, why did you do that? Please stop.
You didn't like that one?
No. Okay. Well, besides NINJOI, I think we
Real
have
quick,
yes.
I want to just bring something up very off topic that I saw today that I thought was really interesting and just like dumb. Like why are we at this point? There is a new product in Japan that is trying to help people reduce their salt heavy diet because in Japan, obviously like soy sauce and all of the food is just very salt heavy.
It's very random.
Very random. Very
Okay,
random.
continue.
So there's a new product and it's electric chopsticks. And essentially you wear a little like bracelet that is connected to the chopstick and it will like trick your tongue into thinking that food is saltier than it actually is. So you don't have to have all of the sodium. And I'm just like, why are we to this point? Why can you just like not eat that much sodium where you have to have electric chopsticks? Like, really?
Honestly, though, that sounds like an American kind of thing.
Oh, it totally does, but
than a Chinese thing.
but like this Japanese.
Oh, sorry, Japanese.
But like this is the solution. This is wild. Absolutely freaking wild. Yeah, just super random. Wanted to bring that up because I thought it was funny. I got a little kick out of it.
Okay. I think we have some meat and potatoes gaming stuff to actually talk about, Kev.
Let's talk about some meat and potatoes. You want to talk about
Okay.
Warzone?
can we talk about Warzone?
We haven't played Warzone in a while.
Okay.
Well, so we have played it, but we haven't talked about it very much. And I will
Yeah.
say, the last couple times that we've played it, I have had fun.
That's what I'm saying. I've tried to say this in the last couple of episodes. But here's the thing. We got to differentiate because it's not Warzone. We've just been playing Rebirth.
That's fair.
So, well, okay, there's a Warzone update. And I'm just going to go through kind of the highlights and then let's talk about it because there's a few things that kind of stuck out to me. That I'd be curious to see what your opinion is. So,
Let's do it. Run me through it.
to start out, and I played this already, got a little bit of time today to play it. So the loadouts are now spawning faster in Caldera, but that also applies to Rebirth. And I've noticed the pace of the game, at least for me. And I think there's a little discussion on Twitter about like, does this solve the problem of Caldera feeling slow or Rebirth feeling a little bit slower with, the delayed first loadout?
Probably. I'm curious to get your thoughts. What do you from playing today? Like, what do you think?
So, I was just thinking back now to kind of like what was the problem that they were initially trying to solve, which was like basically like teams getting their first loadout, killing people, and then being able to buy a second one by Ghost immediately.
Yep.
But I don't if we're paying attention here, like they also changed where Ghost now like you have to be moving. I think for Ghost to be active, like if you're
Yeah,
sitting in a corner or
it
whatever,
prevents
like
camping, which is awesome.
yeah, which is great. And I think that's still like kind of an advantage for like the faster moving teams and things like that. But at the same time, like I just feel like, especially for Caldera, like I I don't still really have any desire to play it right now. Uh, but I think pace of play and actually like wanting to play it, I would play. I mean, also with them possibly Godzilla and King Kong destroying Peak, which is another rumor. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that, and I'm a little terrified because hearing that just like screams Krampus on steroids.
Oh, kind of.
And
The
that
only
was
thing is,
awful.
I just like wonder because the whole flow of that map for Caldera it just needs a whole rework with
It
the
does.
way that they laid out the map.
It
So
does. But one thing that I did notice today, I had Twitch up for a little bit while I was getting some work done, and I was watching Teep stream, and he had pointed out that there are now a lot more of the redeploy balloons on Caldera. So there's not just like however many there were, like 6 or 7 on the map. Now there's like
yeah,
20, and
okay.
they're all over, and it really allows you to get around even quicker now. So do we think that's going to change the pace of play or the dynamic of your rotations or how people are treating the circles and all of that? Like, because you can move around quicker now, are people going to pay as much attention to having to rotate early and all of that?
Well, yeah, I think it'll affect it. I just like the only thing I don't love about that is that it feels like it just feels like too much almost. Like, are people going to be just like literally like flying around everywhere? And the answer is yes. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you're playing that constantly, like you know where all the balloons are. So I'm sure you kill a team and then you immediately hit another balloon and go fight another team, which is great. But at the same time, like I just don't feel like a lot of people have gone back to Warzone, at least for right now. Like it's just not really. I mean, you probably look on Twitch right now and like your top streaming game is probably not Warzone. I mean, I don't know because I haven't looked, but
I'll pull it
I'm
up right
sure.
now and look.
I was gonna say I'm sure you could check, but
I,
anyway,
I mean, the number one category on Twitch is always just chatting, but looking at this thing right now, let's see. We've got GTA is
wow,
huge. I mean, GTA role playing is going to be huge on Twitch all the time. The biggest streamers are playing this. So that has a lot to do with it. Like Fusli, Saikuno. I'm just looking at the accounts that I follow. The two of them have like 45,000 viewers right now
GTA.
on GTA. So like that will always carry a large audience. Valorant's at 150K, Fortnite's at 121,000,
Yeah,
Warzone's at 49,000. So like it is for sure falling
interesting.
off.
It's up there still, but
It's up there,
okay.
but it's fallen
I
off compared to
sound
what it was.
I sound sad. I sound like negative about it. And I really honestly, I think with the updates, like I think this is a step in the right direction.
I
And I'm
agree.
gonna go. I'll go over some of the other things so we can talk more about like what are some of the other stuff besides just the free loadout.
Yeah.
Um. So they've added, like there's restock. There's cash drops, heavy weapon drops, fire sale, and resurgence are all now like permanent. They're in the rotation of the game. And then also core health is now 150, and dead silence is legendary ground loot. So I'm gonna start with like the cash drop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big cash drop, heavy weapon drop, whatever kind of person. I think that stuff's kind of unnecessary. I think in terms of like fire sale, restock, and resurgence, like I think that is fun. Like has made the game really fun. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know about the cash drops and stuff. I feel like that just like adds too much chaos into the game.
I agree with you, but also like the one
The
thing
armored truck.
about those, I mean, I think the armored truck is kind of stupid, especially on
Yeah.
Rebirth. Like, why are you putting an armored truck on Rebirth?
Yes.
Um, the one thing about the cash drops though is that you don't like you can go to it if you want, and there will always be players who go to it because you can use it as a way to regain if like there's one person left, you need to revive your
Yeah.
entire team and all of that. So like strategically there is a place for it, but I do agree with you that I'm not necessarily somebody who's going to seek it out and actually try to
Yeah.
make that happen.
I feel like our objective as a team normally ends up being like we go to the first drop, we try to kill everybody there, which is already fun.
Yeah.
And we loot all that, get our first loadout, and then we start hunting. So it's not really like we're focused on killing teams rather than like
Yeah, we're
and
more
like a cash drop is a last resort. I can't think of the last time we've used a cash. I guess it's in Caldera more. I don't think it's even in Rebirth. I'm thinking about it.
yeah, there's more like we're definitely more of that like run and gun style, whereas there are a very considerable amount of people who play for the win.
Yeah.
And if you're playing to win the game, like 10 times out of 10, and that's what the strategy that you have in your mind, like, yeah, cash drop would be great. You'd
Yeah.
load up on
Useful.
everything that you need and you call it a day.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing just from the patch notes that I'm looking at is that the guaranteed events now in the fourth circle, you have a restock and a fire sale, which for late game is awesome because
Mhm.
all of your boxes are now back and you get a fire sale. You can get your team back for free. They can come down and loot right away. They're not just stuck with a pistol in their hand or whatever they can drop
Also,
on all of that.
kind
So
of it encourages people to stay in the game too. Like
absolutely does.
we play Matt and I've been playing trios just because the pace of just duos gets kind of campy, so we play trios and we'll just load a random. But yeah, like half the time, if the random dies and like doesn't look like we're gonna get them up immediately, they just quit. So that's good with the fire sale. I like that.
Yeah, that whole dynamic of that random third is always an interesting one. It's so hit or miss of like
Oh yeah,
whether or not anybody's gonna stay in, and usually more times than not, that person just quits out. I'm like, why?
yeah.
Why? I
Why?
was like, there have been multiple times, well, not multiple, like I could probably count on one hand the amount of times where I've just loaded in as a solo in like a trio or something,
Mm.
and I got killed and I just waited it out, and I got
Get rezzed.
rezzed, and we ended up winning the game. It's like
Yeah,
you never know what's gonna happen. So I think that's always weird. There's a lot of weird vibes in random fills.
weird
Um,
vibes.
but I like that these two are now guaranteed events in the fourth circle because it really helps with that late game dynamic of things tend to like see that lull in action. It's like early game, it's always hectic because there's so many people on the map, and A lot of people are dropping in the same area, at least where we go. Um, and then you have that, that settling in period of,
Yeah.
you're hunting people, and depending on where the circle is, there may not be a lot of people in your rotations and all of that. And then that second half of that, like, waiting period in the middle, then in that fourth circle kind of opens things back up, and really with the fire sale will help to get more people in the actual game. So I think this is actually a very good thing for at least the pace of play. So I'm curious to see what the how this actually plays out and what the overall reaction is going to be, because I think it's going to be positive.
I feel like too with the I think like I said, like I think overall like we're taking steps in the right direction. Core health being 150 now, and also dead silence being legendary ground loot. I will say just from playing a little bit today, that feels right. Like there's a lot of those Nova rounds on the ground, which I like, but Dead Silence was such a problem because it
Mhm.
was just it spawned it so much
I
and
mean,
like getting
the
killed by somebody you can't hear them is just the most infuriating thing in the world.
the nebula rounds are the new dead silence, where they drop everywhere.
Yeah. Um, but I'd say I think Dead Silence is like almost worse to get killed by because it feels like an uncontrollable thing. Like when I'm starting to get shot, I have a little bit of time to react, especially if base health is a little bit higher, you know?
Yeah, you're not losing a gunfight. You're getting snuck up on, and you have no idea that they're coming.
Right. Yeah. Just like getting killed from behind. The worst.
The
Um,
worst.
the worst. But anyway, I think in general, I think it's positive. I think just from playing today, even like was fun. Like I'm like we're playing tonight. Like I'm actually looking forward to it. Like I'm gonna
Mhm.
get a bourbon and I'll sit down and try to be a psychopath at COD, and I'm pretty excited about it.
I think they are also, at least they have an opportunity to um really just play with all of this stuff right now, because they're not really worried about Warzone 1. They have Warzone 2 coming up. So it's like
Right.
you can play around and really experiment with some of these changes, like the health, um in really anything that they want. It's like,
Yeah.
let's throw shit at the wall and see what sticks here, and figure out what's going to work for Warzone 2 and really make that a really great experience, because there's no reason not to actually do that.
Oh yeah.
Like, if Warzone 2 needs to be a very polished experience, you have to look at a launch like Elden Ring, where you've got a game that is a great experience, and everybody wants to play it, and it's not like a Cyberpunk where the game is broken
hmm
and they have 14 million downloads in the first week, and
Yeah,
nobody
it's like a
wants to
hot
play it.
launch, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll just see what bugs the community finds, and
Yeah.
then we'll fix it." It's like, no,
Yeah, that's not going to fly, and
proven not to work.
we don't want that. So experiment now, have fun with it, see what the community likes and what that feedback is, and take that into Warzone 2 and start that on a high note, and get the bulk of your player base back, because
hmm
the player base is leaving for games like Elden Ring and Apex and no build Fortnite and everything else.
Oh, everything, and it's proven that like people come back to Call of Duty, like if they have a good game. Like Warzone was so incredibly popular.
Yeah.
Like release it polished, and
Yeah.
they will all come back.
Yeah. And we haven't
Yeah.
even gotten into the exact weapon nerfs. Patrick mentions that the sniper got nerfed. Um, Good point. I mean, we didn't even dive into exactly what the different nerfs are. And honestly, I think that they have been trying to at least make the game feel like you can pick up any weapon and it can compete.
Yeah,
And you're seeing that now with a lot of
I
uh,
definitely feel that.
oh, I agree. Pretty much any AR that I've picked up so far has been like, okay, yeah, this does just fine.
I will
Um,
say in terms of I will. There's a good and a bad for me in some ways because it's almost nice to know what the meta is in a
mhm,
lot of ways, just to be able to like pick it up. Like if you haven't played for a little bit and just being like, oh, I know to use a kilo.
yeah,
Like I know that's gonna be the best gun for me. But at the same time, like I will say the game just feels so much more balanced right now.
Mhm.
Like it's just that like people are using a variety. Like I'm using the car and an MP40, but like Matt's I think using an MP7. It's been really good. The Milano been has been decent. I picked
Yeah.
up a bullfrog and that was really good. Like
Bullfrog's gotten a lot of hype. The PP Bison even is getting a lot of hype. I think J God made a video on that, and now of
the
course everybody's starting to
legendary,
use it.
the yeah, yeah. Um, so anyway, yeah, it feels like a lot of balance right now. It's I'm kind of excited to play it again. So
Yeah, there you can even just notice like the amount of variety in guns that drop on just the people that you're killing. Of like
hmm
you can run past everyone. Think about 3 or 4 months ago. It maybe not even that long. Think about like the when the Bren was the hottest thing in Caldera.
hmm
You could kill somebody, and 9 times out of 10, they've got a Bren and an MP40 in their hand.
hmm hmm
Now running around Rebirth, I mean, you've got Cold War weapons, you have Modern Warfare weapons, you have your Vanguard weapons. Like, there's so much variety, and I think that
everything.
is a very good thing for this game
Yep.
because, at least in my mind, it's so much better and more refreshing to play the game the way that it feels most comfortable for you and not necessarily being a slave to the meta and like
Yeah.
having to use the
Going to
DMR or
YouTube and
having
go
to use
check.
the grout. Yeah.
You go check and see what the meta is for the week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think Warzone is after this update with some of these, just quality of life things, I think it continues to be in a much better place than it was even just a month ago. And they've definitely got an opportunity to get a good amount of their player base back here.
Well, some of them have left, and they've left to a game that we both love so dearly, and also happen to receive a patch. So let's talk about that
Yeah,
too.
2 patches in one day. That's how about it? I'm happy with that.
What game is it, Kev?
Oh, you know what game it is already. It's Elden Ring.
It's Elden Ring.
Patch 1.04 is the newest one. 1.03 had a lot of changes. I think the timeline that they're on, it was probably about like 3 weeks ago when 1.03 came out. So
Mhm.
now we'll see. I mean, these are going to continue to come out in smaller iterations, but these big patches we'll see probably looking at like every 3 to 4 weeks or so that they're coming in here with some updates. But a lot of changes. There are, I think, some good quality of life things that they're just going to continue to patch. I'm curious to see like even just like some of the rune farm locations, how some of that has
Mhm.
changed.
Mhm.
Boss fights will change. There's a lot, and you get to the weapons just in general. There's a huge list of things. I'll pull up the patch notes on the Bandai Namco website, and I mean there is just a laundry list of things that they have changed. I think the biggest one from a weapon category standpoint is the colossal weapons got a big buff. So the big
Yeah.
colossal swords now don't take as much time to recover from an attack.
Mhm.
So you can swing them a little bit faster. I think the blocking with those swords has been buffed as well, so a little bit more versatile. There's also a lot of sorcery changes. Um, so some of the maybe not
I-
so used or not so popular sorceries and incantations will now
Yep.
come to light here, and there's definitely going to be a lot of changes. I think just thinking about like what exactly is good.
Well, I will say that I'm a little sad. I'm not a magic boy at all. I have found some staffs
You'll get there.
recently.
You'll get there.
Um, so for me, okay, I didn't tell you this yet. I stumbled upon some like random caves. So like the last couple days, I haven't really played a whole lot, but
Yeah.
like when I have, it's been when I'm just like literally wanting to like veg out and not do anything. And I
Yeah.
wasn't even like I killed Godric. I wasn't trying to really like go on to the next like main storyline. So I literally was just riding around on Torrent and just like
Just
finding new
exploring.
areas.
Oh, it's so much
Yeah,
fun to do. There's so many different areas that you can do that in.
I was. So but I stumbled upon like this cave, and it's like a crystal cave. You've probably been in it.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
you haven't.
yeah.
All these crystal boys, and they all have like big crystal stabs
Hmm.
and can do magic. And I am not a magic guy, and I got past like two of just the regular crystal boys, and was like, they hurt. Like I had to use two potions already.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just I'll clear out, the level, and then like, I'll get to whatever the prize kind of is in the cave. Little do I know, I clear out the whole first level, and I have one potion left, and I get over to an elevator. I'm like, oh, this take me up, like to
Takes
the
you
end of the cave.
down.
It takes me down. I'm like, oh no. So I just like run through the second level. Like I literally don't fight at all. I just was trying to like see if I could loot a little bit and like get to the next area. And I pissed one of them off, and it was chasing me, and I already had to use my potion. And Christian was calling me at the same time. Like he was calling my phone, and I see an elevator. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get to the elevator. It's gonna take me back up, and then like I'll answer his call. And as I was answering his call, I didn't realize one of them was chasing me, and I got on the elevator, and I answered. I was like, hey, and then I was like, ah, because the guy had jumped on the elevator going down
Oh
with
my
me
god.
and stabbed me and killed me because I had no more potions.
I love that. That's one of the great things about the game is that there's so many different areas that you can explore. And while there are a lot of
Oh,
similarities, like all the catacombs throughout the map have a very
yeah.
similar vibe and feel to them. There's so many different areas that you can just really go and explore, even in areas that you've been in before, and you get a new look and feel.
Yeah.
And it's just so refreshing to have so much different variety that you can go into. So um I love being able to do that and really just get that new experience. Where I'm curious, where are you? Because I know you made the switch from console to PC now that the PC is back up and running. So what more progress have you made on your PC account?
Well, I killed Godric in like 3 attempts because I fought him so many times on
Yeah,
the other one.
you had done it before. You know what's going on there.
The maidenless way by shooting. I got him to half health with my summoned the whatever it is, the warrior thing, and then my spirit got him to half health. He does his little dragon deal and he starts spitting fire.
Yeah.
But I just like went all the way to the back steps and just shot arrows until I can, and then run to the other side of the map and continue shooting arrows at him. Uh, yeah, so I killed him, and then I haven't really like done any main quest stuff. I've just been like running around and like exploring areas. I got a few more maps of the Lernia, the lakes.
Hmm.
So I have that area kind of mapped out. I think I'm in the 50s. Like I think I'm like 52, 53 or something like that. So level wise, I'm not like super high, but next thing is like I was gonna figure out how to do that, get to that one rune farm with the bird.
Yeah.
But they just did this patch, and I'm kind of afraid that that's might be gone now.
Yeah,
Sad.
I'm curious if it's still there.
So
I'll have to go and check it and see if it still works for you, just to so you can
that'd
know
be
if
neat.
it's even worth putting in that effort of finishing
Yeah,
Var's
because then
quest line.
I have to do Bar's quest line. So
I am right now. I'm kind of in a weird spot because I've got like 3 or 4 different bosses that I could go fight. And I'm kind of like stuck at each one of them. Um, so the one that I'm really focusing on right now is the fire giant, and
fire giant.
I was pretty much focusing on using the swarm of flies incantation on him because the bleed is really effective on him. But I did notice that swarm of flies was actually nerfed today
Yeah.
when in the
Do you have?
patch
Did you
notes.
say you had Stormflies?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
So Swarm of Flies was nerfed, and the adjustment that they made for it was it decreased blood loss buildup on the enemy. So the blood loss buildup was really what I was focusing on with him, has now been
Ah,
decreased. So I'm really curious to see if that's even a viable option for killing him. So I'm gonna have to figure something else out. I don't want to like go in and
have
do.
you?
I don't want to do any like sort of cheese method. I want to beat him, like actually beat him. So
Is
um
is Storm of Flies, the spirit, like,
No,
what is it?
it's an incantation, so it's the one.
Oh,
It's you can just like use it over and over, and it just costs you FP to use it. So really, it's a really low damage incantation, but it builds pretty much like, at least on the fire giant, for every 2 hits, that or for like every 2 incantations that actually hit him, it has blood loss build up. So you get a
oh,
good chunk of blood loss off of him.
mm,
And if you're pairing that with the katanas that I'm using, it's like you get a lot of blood loss on him. So
mhm,
um, I'm just stuck on, like, I can pretty much consistently get him into that second phase. Um, I just now, like, I'll get, just because I'm using so many incantations, I have like 2 health potions and like 10 FP potions. So it's
oh,
like
yeah,
you get hit once by some of the fire, and it's like shit, you're kind of screwed.
yeah,
So I just need to get past that, and then I'll have a little bit more of a better experience with where I want to go. I think next I want to do Molina at some point here pretty quickly, and then once I get like the main storyline complete, I'm gonna go around and collect all of the different things that I want before New Game Plus.
mm,
Like I want to get a good amount of the weapons, at least some of the ones like I know that I want, some of the armor, um, and then I'll start a New Game Plus, and I'm curious to see like how much or how quickly I can get through a New Game Plus after
mm.
doing it all once already.
You have to fight the bosses again?
Yeah, so everything resets beside, you keep your weapons, you keep your armor, you keep like your all of like your smithing stones and glove warts and all of those. You lose all your runes, so you just spend them all on things that you can keep, and
Mhm.
then all of the enemies and bosses reset. So it's essentially just a fresh
They're just
storyline.
harder.
The difficulty just scales up with each new game.
Mm,
So it's actually really cool. I think, and we touched on this last week, how it allows you to essentially have like 10 different playthroughs, and not have it be just like your Elden Lord going back to Limgrave and you're just one-shotting everybody.
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
Well,
it's fun. All right, we're gonna wrap this up though.
do it.
Lots of new discussions going on this week. Big headlines in the gaming space, and obviously with the patch notes here for both Call of Duty and Elden Ring on the same day, means lots of good discussion for us. So thank you to both Matt and Patrick for joining us in chat. If you're listening to the podcast, please make sure to subscribe on any of the platforms you're listening on. Sub to the YouTube channel. Check out the poll that we've got in the description after this is uploaded. And we will see everybody next week in our next episode.
Come hang with your boys next week. Peace.